and listeners. Welcome back to the Franklin Factor podcast. I'm here today with my lovely co-host, Sarah Franklin Savard, and we are so excited to have a special guest today on the podcast. Today, we're talking about what it takes to scale a real estate team. We're pulling back the curtain to see how our real estate team stays efficient with technology, scales smartly, and serves clients to the highest level. So today's guest is Miss Carrie Bond, president of the Franklin team. So Carrie, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, ladies, for having me.
Yes.
I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, and before we get started, Carrie, I would love for you to share with our listeners just a brief background of what got you into real estate and how you are where you are today.
Yeah, absolutely. So this year actually marks my 15th year in real estate, which makes me feel very old, but that's okay. Maybe experienced. I feel very experienced now.
Sure.
So my real estate career actually started when I was a closing coordinator for a high-rise condominium building down near the Texas Medical Center. I got into that role and, pretty quickly the sales management there thought that I would make a better salesperson than someone behind the screen at that point. And so they encouraged me to get my real estate license. I did that really quickly and I got into sales and leasing with them. And we sold out that building, which was a fantastic experience, high volume of sales and leasing, learned so much. It was like my first real estate boot camp. And then I went to a large builder, David Weekley Homes, loved working for them, great builder, had a great experience there. And during my time there, I met Sarah and the Franklin team. And in 2017, that's when I came onto the Franklin team in a marketing position. So that's how I started with the team. And that was almost 8 years ago now.
I did not know that y'all knew each other at David Weekley.
Yes.
You didn't know that?
Oh,
Well, you know what I just learned? I did not know that you started as a closing coordinator. I thought you were hired on as sales.
So now you know why.
Look, we all learn so much every day, right?
Yeah.
So, okay, let's talk a little bit about your journey to being the president of the Franklin team.
Sure. So, that role my role has definitely developed a lot on the Franklin team. I've had my hands in a lot of different parts of the business. And now today I'd say I have my hands in every part of the business, which is amazing. So I started as business development and I was marketing our builder programs to our builder partners out in the field. So I did that for several years. And it was in 2020 when Andrew and Sarah called me one day and said, I think we need someone in the office that can help us, manage all of the things that we have going on. For the two of them, they have started the title company. And I think you knew, I'm kind of assuming here, but I think you knew that you needed more hands on deck to help with operations in the office. I think for the three of us, we didn't know exactly what that would look like back then. So it's definitely developed a lot over the years. And that's how it's evolved, since 2020 at least.
Well, okay, so now bring us back to when you became the president, because obviously that was the operations side. So tell us about that and kind of what your day-to-day looks like.
Right. So, first I started as VP of Ops, and then a couple of years ago, y'all promoted me into the president role, which is amazing. And we got to bring on another VP of Ops. But for day-to-day, it really looks like overseeing all aspects of the business. So I have an amazing leadership team that I get to work with. One of them is in this room. And so it is working with that team from a high level on all the different departments. So whether that's our retail division, our listings team, finance, making sure that, we are getting the right ROI on our leads, that leads are being handled properly. So from a high level, it's making sure that all departments are working efficiently, from marketing to operations to finance to sales, that everything is flowing and that we have all the right systems in place. And if we don't, that our team makes the changes that are needed so that.
That's a perfect segue into when you're talking about systems, obviously technology. So that plays a huge role in almost all of the systems that we have in place. So how do we go about when we are looking into a new technology interface?
Well, what's interesting is that I would not say we were a technology-focused company. For when I first started, we certainly weren't. So that has definitely evolved over the last several years. So if we're talking about what it looks like when we look into a new technology, there's a lot of learning and vetting that has to be done. Not only, if it's something that comes to us or we learn about it at a conference, or another agent, tells us, oh, this is so great, you have to look into this. We have to take the time to do our own demo and do our own independent research as well. We have to talk to other teams. We can't just go off of one person either. So I would say that's something that I've taken on over the last several years, is really vetting out what new technology or new things we're going to bring into our world, because it can really disrupt things.
So before you came on board, technology wasn't a big deal to us. So why do you believe that technology is a bigger thing for us as a strategy moving forward with running this company?
I think it's huge for us. As a real estate team that has been in business for over 40 years, there are thousands and thousands and thousands of past clients, also leads that have inquired on homes that we have for sale. And just there's so many people that we should and need to stay in front of, so that when it's their time to buy or sell, they think of us. So it's not just the CRM, but other technology that we're going to talk about in this podcast. But I think having all of those are what is going to help us continue to grow and propel our business forward. Because if we were still working off of that Excel spreadsheet, we could probably do great. We could probably still sell a lot of homes, but we wouldn't be able to move things forward. I think everyone is going to find their own way to organize their business, but there are so many great tools out there that I feel like we've been able to implement, and we didn't do it overnight. So I don't want it to seem overwhelming that, oh, here's the Franklin team, they use all these things, I want to do all these things. We didn't do all of this in a month, in a year. I mean, it's been over several years, but I feel like now we're at a place where we've implemented a lot of new technology that helps us stay relevant to our clients, helps us stay in front of our clients or prospective buyers and sellers that may want to work with us, and helps us provide value to them as well.
Because we did not have a lot of the technology we have today, what challenges did we face early on?
I think for us, it became almost like a shiny object syndrome at the beginning, where once you start looking into things, it's like a rabbit hole. You're like, oh, well, then there's this, or then we could add this. There's this automation, there's this. And if you go to a conference and there's, conferences are amazing, right? You're going to learn all these things. You're going to meet vendors. You're going to learn about all these new tools. But looking at them from maybe a 500-foot view away and seeing what is the most important for my business right now that will help us at this time, right? So what do we need next? And not just trying to implement everything all at once. I think that's why sometimes when people implement tools, they're like, oh, this tool sucks. This tool doesn't work for us. Or it might be a lead source too, right? Like this, they said this was great, but it doesn't work for us. Well, maybe it's that you tried to do all these things at once and you didn't really learn all the capabilities of it, or exactly how it could work best in your business, or maybe it wasn't the right thing for your business at that time. So I think that's a challenge that we had early on, was just figuring out which ones do we need right now? What's going to be the most important thing for us next? And how are we going to implement that? And then also get buy-in from the team. Because that's
important. Yeah, because you can go and get it. You can do all the research, you can get the stuff, but like we actually have to use it. So
yes.
I think that's a challenge too, is making sure agents and staff and everybody is using the systems as well.
Exactly.
So Carrie, you talked about this took time, right? And so I think for listeners, it would be good to kind of describe the overview of the team, the structure, and how you build, and how do you define responsibilities of departments? What did that look like for you when you came on and as you've grown the team over the last 8-ish years?
Sure. So of course we have Sarah and her brother Andrew, who are the co-owners and visionaries of the Franklin team. And I see myself, and we see myself as the integrator, right? So I'm taking all of their vision and their big ideas for the company and seeing how we can implement those into our business. Well, when we first started partnering or got into running our business on EOS, I think that's when we realized that we needed to define departments a little bit better. I remember we were writing everything on the board, and we had Megan doing sales, our sales manager doing sales, and then Carrie's doing marketing and HR and operations and all of these things, which was fine, right? Like, I was learning it and we were still trying to figure things out. But I think that was a turning point for us, where it was, how can we further define these departments so that we have someone that owns it, right? Because I think that's probably where balls got dropped, or, you know, when you just have one person over all of those departments, it's not that there's not ownership, there's just lack of capacity, right? There's only 24 hours in the day. So that was the time when we said, okay, here's who owns finance, here's who owns sales, operations, marketing. And so that's kind of what it looks like today, is we have somebody over each of those departments.
So somebody's growing their business or they're growing their team, right? It sounds like there is a real pivotal moment with EOS kind of defining roles and putting a who to a name to responsibilities that allowed the leverage and allowed execution to continue the growth and the scale. Maybe somebody's listening and they're saying, okay, all that's great. Maybe I'm solo, or maybe I've already done that, but how do I know when it's the right time to start adding to my tech stack? Like, when do I take that on?
I think you are ready when you realize you need that leverage. So when you've grown your database to a point where you really need to have some automation or some action plans in place, you know, those types of things that can work for you while you're out there meeting with other buyers and sellers and building your business, that can work in the background. I think that's when you can first realize that you need to add to that tech stack. So I do think a CRM is super important for any agent.
I was going to ask you, what do you think is first, second, third? Like, what would you recommend?
Certainly a CRM first.
Okay.
May not be what everyone wants to hear, because I know that there are some agents that a CRM, or just the thought of like organizing a database, is overwhelming to them, or they're like, there's no way, my phone is my database, right? But there's so much value in taking that time to learn it, because again, I can't see someone truly scaling if they don't have that system in place. We're so distracted with so many things every day that you've got to have something like that to organize who you need to call, what you need to do next. So I would say a CRM is first, and then implementing some of the other tools that we've done in our business.
Would you say that the CRM we switched over to was essential to building and scaling in the last 5 years?
I would. That also, there was a lot of learning and discovery done during that time. We were using another CRM before, and it was fine. It worked great. There was a lot of things that we loved about it. But when we were growing the team, we knew that we would want to implement other technology, and we needed to find a CRM that was going to be integration friendly, I guess you could say, because the one that we were using before wasn't. And so even though we knew we weren't going to integrate a million different things on the first day, switching to Follow Up Boss, which is the one that we use now, gave us the ability to do that. And I'm so glad we did it when we did, because that was 3 years ago, I think, 4 maybe. If we were to do that now, I mean, I think we have double the amount of leads in our system that we had back then. So if we were to do that now, it would have been, it was not the easiest thing back then when we moved over CRMs, just because we still had a ton of people in the old one. So to do that today would have been really fun.
I like that you brought up the integration piece, because some agents or teams may be just researching and thinking, well, what's the cheapest option, right? Or what's the easiest option? But being a futuristic thinking of growth, scaling the company, we need to add tech. Is the integration there? We would have hate to have switched to a CRM that didn't have the capability, or it would have not been easy to switch to CRM that didn't have integration. And then a few years later, we start hearing about all this tech stack. We want to add Ylopo. We want to add all these different platforms. And now we can't because we switched to a wrong CRM. So I think it is critical to vet and to be futuristic of thinking about what are your options, regardless of cost and what you need right now, but where's your business going? So
for sure. And to make sure that you find one that you know you'll use. I do feel that Follow Up Boss is very user-friendly. It's very easy to navigate. There's not glitches and all these things that we've experienced before with other technology. So I think that was really important for us too, because then that helped us with agent adoption, agents using it. It was easy. So they were okay doing it because it was easy for them to learn.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to say. I mean, you can have, I mean, anybody can use it. It's getting in there and using it though. Like that's the thing. We still have agents that aren't using it because it's this scary thing, but if they even give it a try, it's really not that difficult. It's super user friendly. So with the technology, and we were talking about agent adoption and stuff, how do you manage growth while also keeping the standards high?
For us, I think that goes back to our core values. So when we are looking to bring on agents or administrative staff to the team, we use those core values during our interviews, and we are always reminding agents and our team about those core values. So we talk about them every Monday at our Monday morning huddle. We talk about it every all company meeting. And so I think if agents are all in on our core values and are living by those, and can also be accountable to the expectations that we set up front. For agents, here's what we expect your days to look like and what your activities to look like. As long as they can stick with those, then I feel like that's how we can manage that growth and then keep accountability high. So it's just setting those proper expectations from the beginning and making sure that we're bringing on people to the team that have and live by our core values.
How have you grown both personally and professionally as the team expanded over these years?
So if I think about professionally, I've really had to grow a lot as a leader, right? So I've had to learn to lead a team of goodness. Now we have 25 or so administrative staff and over 50 agents. So I think I've had to learn how to really lead a team, right? And how to grow my own leadership skills. I think when I think about my days, I've had to learn how to prioritize things. There's so many things as leaders in an organization that come at you every day. There's a lot of distractions. I mean, just being honest, there's phone calls, there's emails, there's Slack messages. There's a lot of things that come at us. And so it's being able to say, okay, this one is a priority right now. This one I can get to later or tomorrow or whatever, right? So I think it's trying to do everything all the time right then was something that I was used to doing, right? I was used to being able to respond to every single message right away and get everything done right away. But I think once our team has grown, it's just not physically possible, right? So it's about figuring out how to structure the day, time block for important things that need to get done, tuning out distractions as much as possible. Those are all things that I feel like I've been able to do. And it's not easy and it's taken time and I still have a lot of room to grow, but it's something that I feel like I have been able to do over the last couple of years. And I think personally, it's kind of the same. They're figuring out what the priorities are. So I know a couple of years ago, I decided I needed to make movement part of my day every day. I am behind a computer a lot during the day. And so I knew like it makes me feel better and I have more energy if I have that. But with my day and having young kids, I have my what I call second shift after work, right? We get home, we have to do dinner and homework, and sometimes it's tumbling and practice and all these things, right? So I wasn't able to do it then. I can do it in the middle of the day. So then I really reworked my days and I made myself become a morning person so that I could fit that in. I could have the energy and attention that the company needed during the day, and I could still have energy and attention for my family in the evening. So I feel like that's how I've been able to adapt as our team has grown, and really my responsibilities on the team have grown over the last several years.
I'd like to add to this because I've seen you grow personally and professionally over the last 3 years almost. And I believe in that good leaders don't leave holes. And so good leaders see other leaders succeed. And Carrie, you do that very well. I think coming from what I hear and know to be true about you is to do it all, right? You really do leverage and trust and put faith in the leadership team and put faith in the team members to execute and to do things. You're always there to support, provide perspective, share different ideas, critique, help us, right? Coach and lead us. But I really appreciate that as leader. And I think that's important as team grows, right? As leaders or presidents, or maybe it's just a sole business owner, like recognizing like if the point is to grow. At some point, you have to relinquish, you have to release, and you have to help others succeed as well.
And to trust, right? To bring on those right people that you trust so that they can run with whatever project or department or whatever you have them in charge of.
Okay, so Carrie, let's go ahead and for listeners, let's break down our current tech stack.
Yes.
And give details on what do we use. I know that we're big advocates of we're biased. We like what we have.
We do.
But go ahead and share that with listeners.
Sure. So I mentioned it earlier. We use Follow Up Boss as our CRM and have for several years. We love it. All in. Recommend them. So that's our CRM. The next technology that we brought into the team was really Ylopo. And I am a huge fan of Ylopo. I think it does so much for our team behind the scenes that some of our team members don't even realize it's doing for them, right? So Ylopo is not only the engine that runs our website and the IDX feed so that buyers can search for homes on our website. There's also amazing AI built into it that right now everybody's talking about AI, but we were using AI years ago, and they're AI texting Raya through Ylopo, where it's messaging people when they come back to our website to look at homes. It also remarkets to our database. So if they're on Facebook, oh, look, there's the Franklin team again. Gosh, the Franklin team is everywhere. I hear them on the radio. I see their social media posts, and now I'm seeing their sponsored ads on here. And so, I think that's what is so amazing about Ylopo. Another technology that we brought on more recently, but this one is to nurture our sellers and our database, is Fello. So that is one that gives automated home values to our sellers. And it does so much more than that, but that's one that we brought in more recently. We also utilize Sisu. So Sisu has been huge for us as far as, it does so many things, but transaction management, helping us see our revenue from a high level so we can predict what we have coming up the next month, the next quarter, and also reflecting back on transactions from before. But it also brings in all kinds of metrics from Follow Up Boss for our agents' accountability. So I love that piece as well. Our marketing team uses Asana to help organize their projects and for all their project management. And another new one that we have is AI Home Match. So that one's really cool. It will utilize AI to help buyers find the perfect home for them by finding what's important about their lifestyle. So I love that too.
One thing I wanted to say as well is, again, going back to our CRM and integration, is all of these technologies integrate with our CRM. So we're not onboarding agents and saying, hey, Sarah, why don't you come on and learn 10 different platforms, 10 different ways, 10 different websites, 10 different logins. I feel like that is very overwhelming to learn one system. And there's a ton of training that we do, but I again, love that Follow Up Boss has integration with all of these different technologies and platforms.
I agree.
So how do we go about, like when a new agent does join the team, how do we go about training them and onboarding them into the system and realizing all the benefits?
When we onboard agents, we bring them on once a month, and we have an onboarding week. So it's not just a day, and it's not sporadic trainings throughout a couple of months. It's almost like drinking from a fire hose a little bit, but you are, during that first week, learning all of the technology and systems that we have available. You're also going through a lot of other training as well. So we do all of that training during that first week. We also have all of our trainings and supplemental trainings saved in Trainual, which is awesome. So, anytime an agent has a question, they can really just search in Trainual, and there's going to be some kind of answer for them. It might be a video, it might be a one-pager, it might be the contact or something. Whatever it is, it all lives there. So they may go through these days of training and absorb everything, and they'll have all their notes and they'll have an understanding, but then maybe it's 11 o'clock at night and they're like, oh, how did I do that again? What was that thing they told me about? And so all of that lives in Trainual as well.
So one of the systems you forgot that I spent a lot of time last night on, and because my email wasn't working, was Slack. And I love Slack.
Yes.
How could you forget?
I don't know. Probably just because it's part of my brain now, and it just feels like another part of me. But Slack has been huge for us. So we started using Slack, honestly, I don't know if this is good or bad to say, but just late last year, I know that there's a lot of people that have utilized Slack in their business for years and have realized all the capabilities of it. For us, it was one of our goals in EOS was to try to change the narrative of internal communication and put it somewhere else so that it wasn't just, here are your emails. You get emails from, I get hundreds a day. I don't know about y'all. Half of it is junk, right? Or things that I don't need, but there could be a really important to do or a really important request from an agent or from Sarah or Andrew or someone from my leadership team that would completely get lost in email. And that's what I think is so great about Slack is I know if there's a message in there or something that I need to reference, it's so much easier to sift through. There's not junk messages in Slack.
How do we get the agents onboarded into our systems too? I think it's also conveying and showing the value and getting their buy-in, because I remember Slack being brought up at the very beginning and I was worried about, oh my gosh, I have to learn this new system, but understanding the value of what that's going to do for my productivity in Outlook and what it's going to do to improve how I search for things in the business and for communication with internally within members and relationships, it was huge. So
you needed to know the value to have you use it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think we do a good job of sharing that and casting the vision of that when we introduce tech. I think that would be important for anybody listening, whether you're a business owner or a single agent. You need to understand the value of what you're trying to add on to your systems and processes.
I think that's a good point, because there have been times where we wanted to bring in Slack, a year before, and we just were in the middle of doing Sisu and all this other stuff. We have always, I feel like, and I think you're a big proponent of this, is it the right time right now? Like, you see the value in the tool, but are we doing too much at once? Because if we do throw out a bunch of stuff, who's going to really adopt it? And like everybody says, it starts from the top down. So you guys have to be ready to really be able to implement it, right?
100%. And I feel like, to Danielle's point, we do a great job, no matter who is training the agents, of demonstrating why are we bringing this into the business? Because we don't want to make anybody's lives harder. We bring in technology and all of these other tools to make people's lives easier. Or to help them sell more homes, right? Those are the two things that I'm thinking about when we're bringing on technology to the team. How is it going to make our lives easier or our jobs more efficient? And how is it going to help us sell more homes, right? So those are the things that we think about. And so if we can demonstrate that to our team, so for team leaders listening, I think that's the most important thing to do, is figure out, okay, what is the why behind bringing in, if it is a shiny object, like look past it, right? Like, is it the right time now? So what is the value that this is going to bring to my team? As a leader, you have to really understand that platform as much as you can, and you're using it if you want your team members to adopt it and use it.
We're in such a AI focus, heightened type of world right now, with our business at least, and I know other industries. So I think sometimes there is hesitancy of, I know when I'm talking to people, there may be pushback of, well, you're losing the personal touch. And so how do you feel like the Franklin team has succeeded of that balance of keeping that personal relationship? Because referrals are really what keeps us in business, right? We want to do repeat business. So how do you feel the Franklin team has done or been successful of balancing bringing in technology, automation, AI, but also still keeping that human to human relationship in peace to this business?
The first thing is, obviously, relationships are what drives our business. That is super key, right? But I think if you're not utilizing the AI tools that are out there and some of the technology that's out there, that you're going to be so behind so fast, because the technology is changing so quickly. So if you're not utilizing some of these things to stay in front of clients, it could still look personal, right? Even some of like the AI texting, it's texting as your assistant. So there's a lot of people, y'all, I read some messages. They don't know it is AI. They legit think it is a real person, because it is very smart, which is a little scary. But I think also just figuring out where you can utilize AI in different ways to help you save time. Maybe it's personally to help you save time so that you can spend more time building relationships and making personalized phone calls and things like that. So maybe it's, shaving off hours of your day by having ChatGPT create your grocery list and then taking that grocery list and throwing it in Instacart and saving yourself really like hours. I really wanted to make this recipe and I was going to print it off. I mean, this is what I used to do, like print it off and like go check and then,
Yeah.
And so I think just finding different ways that you can utilize tools that are already out there. So yes, of course, there's tools that we want to implement in our business, but there's a lot of things that are out there that could help you personally.
Well, I was just going to say, I think that's a really important thing to mention is that AI isn't here to replace. I think that's a common thing that people are saying, like, oh, it's going to replace people and replace, that's totally different. Like there's a place for AI and there's a place for relationships. I think automation, like we were talking about yesterday, it's crazy how far ahead and futuristic it is. There's a video technology that has your voice. I mean, it's crazy.
Yes.
But it's not here. It's not going anywhere. So I think everybody adopting it, embrace it. And it's an added benefit. It's like a who, so I love it.
Now that we've kind of talked about AI and tech and bringing in automation and all of that, let's go back over to sustaining success, right? Scaling and growth and building that team year over year. So how do you maintain momentum and how do you avoid burnout?
Internally, I know I'm a high performer. And so that's just how I was created. So I think for me, I already have that internal motivation to succeed. But I think that there's a time when you have to realize when it's time for you to find a who for what you need. For us, like I mentioned before, that's when we decided to bring in a VP of Ops, right? So we brought in someone who's perfect at developing processes and utilizing some of these new technology to make systems and processes even better for our team so that we can keep moving forward. So I think sometimes that's to avoid burnout, sometimes you have to realize, okay, maybe it's time to find a who because you're not going to be perfect at everything. You're not going to know how to do everything. And I think realizing what your unique ability is and then finding the right people to help with those things, that's how you're going to be able to maintain that momentum and keep growing. So again, it may not happen right away. You may have to do a lot of the things yourself for a while until you're ready to make that next move. But then taking that time to reflect, okay, here's what I'm great at. Here's what I like doing. Here's what I'm good at doing. And here's what I don't like doing or I'm not good at doing. And finding the who for those so that you can focus on what you're best at. I think that's really important.
It's like that 80-20 rule, right? Mm-hmm. What is the 20% best use of your time and what's all the other 80% of stuff that's holding you back from being that next level? So
what's your strategy for retention and keeping the team motivated?
I think for us, it's every day thinking about what value we can provide to the agents. Honestly, I feel like there's so many things that we provide to the agents on our team from, all the tools that we just talked about in ways that they can stay in front of their clients while they're out talking with other clients, other buyers and sellers. Those things take time to implement and they're not cheap either, honestly. If you were a solo agent, they're certainly out there and they're going to be less expensive for a solo agent than they are for us because it depends a lot of times on how many people you have on your team or how many people you have in your database. But just the implementation of those has taken so much time. So I feel like if we can continue to provide value to the agents on our team, that's really what's going to want them to stay here.
So what would be your advice for someone, a solo agent who's wanting to grow, but hesitant to really take the leap and scale the business?
Yeah, so I think for someone in that boat, it's really figuring out what they want their next step to look like. Are they done with production? Are they ready to stop working with buyers and sellers? If that's the case, then it's probably time to start looking at growing a team and thinking about what that looks like. So I think it's figuring out what their why is or what they want their next step to look like so that they can take those next steps to scale. So if it's scaling as a solo agent, then it's taking a step back, figuring out, like we talked about here, what technology can they integrate into their world so that they can take that next step. what dollars can they set aside to help grow their business. So I think it's really figuring out what you want to do next. And, maybe you've learned so much being successful. You've really mastered working with buyers and sellers, and you are someone that is a natural born teacher, and you want to see others do the same. Maybe that means, okay, yes, this is time. I want to grow a team. I want to mentor other people, and I want to see them succeed. Then I would say, don't be hesitant. Just do it.
Well, and I think to piggyback on that, like an agent who has a lot of business, they have inundated with leads. Obviously it's getting an agent. You don't have to start a whole team. You can just have an assistant agent that's going to help you with overflow. If there's, you need more business and you need to implement more leads, but scared to be able to control all those leads, maybe it's hiring another agent. It doesn't have to be, I have to go out and hire all these people, you know. But a who is definitely important for sure, like we said earlier.
Definitely.
Right.
So maybe it's that you don't even want to start a team, but where you're at, the brokerage that you're at is not giving you all the tools and resources that you need to grow. So we happen to be at an amazing brokerage that has almost more tools than I could name. To be honest, there's so many great systems and lead sources and tools that EXP provides. And so maybe it's that. Maybe it's just exploring the brokerage that you're at. We also have, in our group, in our collaboration group, if you have a question or you need help with something, we have an internal group where someone can raise their hand and say like, hey, who's good at this? And there's always a comment like, oh, hey, call me, here's my number, which I love that. Another thing that EXP just released, I think in the last couple of months, something called Team Leader Academy. So it's something that an agent could enroll in. They could be a current team leader or they could be an aspiring team leader. And they literally walk them through over several weeks exactly how to run a business, like how to grow a team. What do you need to do? How do you look at a P&L? Like all of those things. It's amazing.
That is huge.
I know. Can you imagine like if you had that all those years ago, like just when you started taking over?
Well, and the support.
Great, but
and which brokerage is going to support you into that? That's not out there, And
no, it's really
That's really cool.
So Carrie, rapid fire questions for you. What is your favorite tech in our tech stack?
Oh gosh. Okay. So if I'm thinking as an agent, it would have to be hands down Follow Up Boss.
I agree.
I mean, it really is like the heart of it. And then there's all of these other things that we've built on top of it, right? But I would say Follow Up Boss. But as a leader, I really think it has to be Sisu. I mean, I'm in there every single day. It helps with all types of reports that I need. It has all of this data that I would ever need, honestly. And it's, also from an agent accountability piece, there's just so many things. So I have to say agent side, Follow Up Boss, leader side, Sisu.
And talking about Sisu, it's kind of like the pulse of the organization that you have at your fingertips, right?
It's just a great, for me, it's just a great overview. It's activities, it's revenue, it's sales, it's appointments set, it's appointments met. All of that information lives there. So, and shout out to EXP for now having a partnership with Sisu. We've been using it for years, but now even as a solo agent, someone at EXP can dive right in.
That's pretty cool.
I know.
I love being the co-owner, being able to just look at that to see, okay, how are we? What are we seeing? Talking to other team leaders, seeing how their numbers reflect either in our same market or in other markets, especially with EXP, since we do have so many partners across the country.
Absolutely.
Which book would you recommend to a leader?
I mean, doesn't even have to be a leader. I think that the books that I'm thinking about would be great for anyone that just wants to grow professionally. But I would have to say any book by Patrick Lencioni or Gino Wickman. So we were introduced to all these different books when we got into EOS. So I think, honestly, I was looking at my Audible not too long ago, and there was just so many books in there by both of them. So I would have to say, books like Traction would be really, really great. But honestly, anything by those guys.
Do you have one, Sarah?
I mean, I like the Dan Sullivan ones. If I had to pick one, I would say from a leader aspect and wanting to scale, 10x is bigger than 2x. I love that one.
I think it's big because we're all so busy in the day-to-days and we don't have an outside coach on a weekly basis. You're doing it personally to invest in yourself, which is great. But I do think a resource and learning together and growing and implementing could be good.
Well, thank you, Carrie, so much for all of your insight. I think the listeners are really going to enjoy this. So I appreciate your time.
Oh, it was so fun being here with y'all.
And why don't you share where people can reach you?
Yeah, for sure. So you can find me on Instagram at Carrie Bond _real estate. I'm also on Facebook, so you can always friend me on there. You can email me. You can find all my info on the website as well. So, any of those resources, just reach out anytime.
Awesome. We'll probably have you back for another one. So.
Yes. Anytime, ladies.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe the Franklin Factor podcast.